What's up, everybody? It's Nia, and this is Namaste. Like always, let's make sure we take a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and Namaste right there, because we are about to get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Namaste, your favorite pastime. I'm your host, Nia, and we are going to be talking about a gang of things today. We have 30 minutes, so let's get right into it because you know I love to talk. First off, I want to tell everyone here that you are beautiful, you are wise, you are strong, you are capable. You are more than you ever thought you were, and you'll go farther than you ever thought you could. Last episode, we talked about the new year and being new people and just changing the way that we see things and the way that we go about things. I personally just want to talk a little bit about how the beginning of my new year is going before I get into the rest of this episode. If we're being honest, my new year started off a little bit slow. And in my year, I had intentions and plans that I really was trying to push forward, and I learned a valuable lesson about myself, about putting too much on my plate and allowing other things to stand in front of what it is that I know I really need to be focused on. So going into these next few weeks of the new year, I want to, and I want all of you also, to be aware of your intentions and what it is that you actually want to put forth effort into, and really go full steam ahead in it. It's super important. Make sure that you're putting 100% into everything that you do. You know, even when it comes to relationships with people, you know, giving 50-50 is not enough. You have to give 100%. All this, that's what puts you on top. That's what's going to put you exactly where it is that you want to be when you give forth effort. Everything. This new year is really going to be a year of reflection. Last year you stepped into the mirror, and this year you're really gonna look and see yourself for who you are and make yourself who it is that you want to be. I really just want to take this time, not even to talk about myself, but to encourage everyone to keep pushing through these next 11 months. We just got started and the world is crazy. And in an instant, it can be something completely different. So I want to urge everyone to have hope, have faith, work hard, do what you can to make your life full of light right now. Because tomorrow's not promised, the next day's not. With that being said, I want to go into a quick story time for the first half and tell you guys about some things that I went through in a very trying time in my life, how I got over it, and how I overcame it. Now, full disclosure here, I am not in no way, shape, or form telling y'all to get out and go make a horrible investment with your life, but that is what got me out of a deep depression about 4 to 5 years ago. So, with that being said, let's get into it. About 4 or 5 years ago, I had just stopped going to college. This was about 2018, and it was in March. I was 19 years old, and I really just thought I had it all figured out. Actually, I was 18, and I thought I had it all figured out. I was 100% convinced that what I was doing with my life was the right thing. I had stopped going to college. I was dating a guy who was much, much older than me, and I thought that I was getting ready to prosper from there on. He was very nice. He was very attentive, and he literally gave me anything I possibly could have asked for, really. I didn't have any job for the first half of our relationship, no car. I didn't even have a license. I was really princessing it out, for being honest with you. So eventually, into our relationship around June, he moved me and him to Alabama in an apartment. Now, mind you, in Georgia, where I was living at the time, I was or where I was going to college at per se. The only people there was my sister and my niece and nephew. So they were really my only family, my only support system in Georgia at the time. And us moving to Alabama, I literally had no one, and neither did he. But he worked from home, so it was a lot easier for him to go see his family, to stay different places, travel different places. And once we moved, I ended up getting a job, so I wasn't as able to do so much leisurely things like he was. So a lot of the times I was getting left behind. He would go on trips, he would travel, and I would be at home all by myself. And that was getting super, super tiring. I was getting very depressed. I felt super lonely, even in a house with someone else. And eventually I decided that I wanted to get an emotional support animal, which happened to be my dog, Juicy, who is sitting right here next to me, looking at me crazy, wondering why I'm talking into a microphone. Juicy is a Yorkie Poo. She is 4 years old now. So 4 years ago this happened. She's 4 years old now, and she's literally my best friend on this whole planet. She's so chill. She's so cool. She literally understands me. And when I have nobody else and I really need somebody to talk to, newsflash, she is the one. She listens to all my secrets, and hopefully she's not going back telling them to her kids, because they loud. They're the ones that's crazy, and they the ones that be barking, talking all that noise. So hopefully they don't know none of my secrets, because I'm sure the rest of the neighborhood knows by now if they do. Back to my story though. So I got Juicy September 11th, 2018, and my whole life changed forever after that. Juicy is the first thing that I have ever been 100% responsible for. Just knowing that I've kept her alive for this long, honestly, is like an accomplishment within itself, because I never thought that, like, if it wasn't my kids or my family or like a person, I never thought that I would be so committed and devoted to it. But she's literally everything to me. 9 times out of 10, I don't go anywhere without her. And if I do, literally, I'm checking on her every freaking second. So me and Juicy, we lived together with the guy I was dating. And like I said, he was always leaving me. So I didn't really feel like I wanted to be in a relationship with somebody who was never there. So I ended up kicking him out of our apartment. And for a good 4 months, it was just me and Juicy in an apartment with no car, by ourselves every single day. And I learned to sit inside of that sadness. I learned to sit inside of that aloneness, just me and her. And we made it through. We really, every single day, found different ways to occupy ourselves, change our attention, move our thoughts around. Like, we were inseparable. And the way that I thought during that whole time was just because of her. All of the good things that I thought in my brain were literally because I had Juicy by my side. Dogs have a way of doing this thing where it's like, even though they can't talk to you, they have the best ways of showing you that they know and that they care. I don't want to say that she understands, because I'm sure she don't understand, but man, she literally has a way of showing you that she cares. And it doesn't matter how I feel or who I'm into it with or what the instance is. If I'm sitting down and I even look like I'm hurt or sad or want to cry, the first person who's going to be there sitting on my lap, giving me a hug, licking my face, is literally going to be Juicy. And right after that is going to be Duke and Messiah, which are her kids. So eventually Juicy and I left Alabama, and we ended up moving back to Indiana late that year. And even though I moved, and even though I was surrounded by my family again, or people who at the time I did love, Juicy was the only consistent in my life. No matter who I got into it with, who I fell out with, who I argued with, who didn't love me anymore, who didn't like me anymore, at the end of the day, every time I walked through my front door, there was one person coming to greet me and to love me unconditionally, and that was my freaking dog. I give her all the credit to who I am right now today, because I would have lost myself a long time ago if I didn't feel that I had someone or something to be responsible for. And if I didn't have that genuine love that I get from my dog back, I probably would have given her up. Or when I tell you, I bought Juicy for around $1,500. $1,500 that I didn't even have at the time. $1,500 I probably never should have even touched. That probably would have ruined my credit. But I went out on a limb. My mental health, my mental stability, at the time, I just felt like it was way more important than any dollar amount. And I knew that this was something that would help me in the long run. I feel like by doing that, I really did invest in my mental health. Once I moved back home, another way that I invested in my mental health was going to therapy and really taking it serious. Now, I have been in therapy before, and it was a little hard because, one, I didn't really relate with my therapist, and two, it was an online, like phone type of teletherapy is what they call it. And I was not into that at all. I like to see people's reactions. I like to understand people's feelings. I like people to understand my feelings. And I want to know you're listening. I want to know that you're comprehending what it is that I'm saying, and that, like, you're not playing down the things that I'm going through. So I really benefit better from therapy that is in person and in your face. So like I said, I came back home and I ended up going to therapy. I went to a great therapist, and she was super understanding. She understood me, and she spoke to me so respectfully, as if we were friends. She gave me so many tools that I could use in order to better myself and to work harder on who it was that I wanted to be. Usually, I would say there's, no point in trying to talk to a therapist, especially if they can't solve what the issue is. I've always been one of those people, that's like, why would I talk about my feelings if I know that you can't solve what it is that I'm going through? There's no point in me telling you that I had a bad day today if you're not going to assist in making my bad day better. I can do that myself if I have to. So a lot of times I don't really even recommend it, but I learned that there is right ways to do therapy, and you have to do therapy right in order for it to work. You have to dig down, and you have to really ask yourself those questions. Even if your therapist doesn't ask you those questions, you have to ask yourself those questions that you want answered, or that you feel like are going to fix your life. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. No one knows you better than you. If you leave things out of your therapist and you don't fully communicate with them, there's no way that they can help you see the error in the way that you move. And you deserve that as someone who really wants to fix their cognitive health. You really deserve that. There's so many different types of therapy: behavior, cognitive, psychoanalysis. Like, they're holistic. There's so many types of different therapy that you can try. I personally had a therapist. She didn't give me homework. She would tell me things. She would explain things to me, give me different things to try throughout my everyday life. But never did she say, well, go home and do this, go home and do that. She would urge me to be better, tell me how to do it, and then encourage me to take the action. But she never made me feel like I was working so hard to obtain something that I feel like I deserved in the first place, which was peace, which was love, which was satisfaction. But I had to find all that within myself first. So with that being said, I just wanted to tell this small story about, some things that I went through and how I was able to cope with them in a healthy manner, i.e., therapy, emotional support animals, having conversations, talking, expressing my feelings. All of these things are things that you can do when you're going through something to prevent yourself from going deep down into a hole that you may not ever come out of. In this very important part of the podcast, I want to go ahead and answer some questions that people have been asking me from different platforms regarding spirituality and religion and mental health and just keeping themselves afloat on the daily boat that we call life. The first question I have here is, how can one who's looking in this area get more advanced? Great question. Thank you so much. First off, the advancement of spirituality and self-love and finding yourself is something that you will have to encounter every single day of your life. That is a work that will never be done. But you can change the way that you look at yourself and the way that you work on things now, absolutely. And one way that I would say you could do that is by reading. Reading is fundamental. Knowledge is power. I cannot say that enough. If you read enough, you will learn enough, you will know enough, and you will grow enough. Me personally, that's how I develop my spiritual journey. I have a great book that I have been reading that really gives me the understanding that I need in order to continue pushing forward and moving forward, and writing, also journaling those things that you read so that you can really retain them and understand them. The book that I'm currently reading right now is called The Power of Positive Energy by Tanaz Chubb. He also is the creator of foreverconscious.com, something that I go on often and read, look into. I write notes, I go back and I circle things, I highlight. I really try to make it a point to study what it is that I'm learning so that it can be embedded in my brain and I can practice it in my everyday life. Question that we have here is, how can one with spiritual development help children get their spirit in alignment? I really love that question because I love kids. I taught theater for children K through 8th grade for a minute, and that was one of the most humbling experiences of my life, is seeing that children really know what they are taught. So if you start these children off on a level of knowing and loving themselves, being respected, being understood and listened to, then I don't think the development of spirituality in children is something that will be hard or be a problem at all. Children are products of their environment almost 100% of the time. So if you give your children or your child a loving, stable, humbling, honest environment, I truly do believe that their spirit will be in the right spot for the majority of their adolescent to young adult life and will guaranteed advance from there. The next question that we have here is, how can one protect their spiritual well-being from malicious intent or maltreatment? That is a big one because when you think about it, what can you really do to protect yourself? Honestly, people are going to be who they are 100% of the time. You'll never be able to stop that. All you can do is stop the way that you react to certain things and protect yourself in the only way that you know how. For some people, that may be ignoring. For some people, that may be conversing. For some people, that may be just leaving things alone or addressing them, confrontation. Everyone has a different way that they like to deal with their spirituality or their healing. You really have to do whatever works best for you. but I would urge you very strongly not to feed in to the negativeness, to the maliciousness, because once you feed in, you start to deplenish what you have working for you on the inside, and you start to mix your spirit with energy that does not suit you. And you want to stay away from any energy that does not suit you. 100. The last question that I'm going to take here is a good one. It is how spiritual connected are animals and how does it help humans? Now, earlier in the show, I talked about how I have an emotional support animal and how my dog is literally my best friend. And I would put that in the same realm also. Not just dogs, but any animals are really connected to you in more ways than one. It's so many different things that these animals can show us, just down to being protective, down to being honest, down to being loyal, carefree. I mean, they live their lives willing to allow someone else to come in and take care, and in exchange they take care of us the best way that they know how. And honestly, that's really powerful if you look at it, because all of us in this life, all we have to do is take care of ourselves and the people that we love the best way that we possibly know how. To close out, I really want to thank the people who have been here for me, supporting this podcast, supporting my blog, and supporting my journey through school, because without you guys, literally this whole thing would be so hard for me. I still struggle every day and battle with a journey that is only mine to understand, but the people around me who are in my life at this very moment know that whether they understand or not, they are just here to support me through what I'm going through, and I truly appreciate that, down to my dog, like I've been saying this whole podcast today. I really had a lot of people last year who I cared about, who I loved, that I had to let go. And this year is all about self. For me, for you, I hope also. I'm not taking it personally if anyone who I love or care about is putting themselves first, because that's what this year is honestly about. That's what it should be about, is turning up. They say it's the year of the GOAT, so we need to turn up and get in that GOAT mentality, do everything we can to push harder, to be better, to be smarter, to be wiser, to be more divine. I believe in you guys so much. I thank you guys so much for coming and listening. I know this week was super personal, but I really wanted to share with you guys that I have struggles too. I'm going through it too, and we are on this journey to self-enlightenment and betterment together. Thank you guys so much for listening to Namaste this week. As always, we're going to close out with a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and make sure you guys like and subscribe. See you next week.